You know, over here, out on the flip ship, outside of our human avatars, we only have one consciousness. But why is it every fucking time I go back to being a human, everyone thinks, narcissistic fuck boy, you're so full of yourself, you're arrogant, why you think you're better than everybody? Yeah, dude, I didn't say anything about how I'm better than you.
This is, I think it's called, in psychoanalytic theory, they call that projective identification. So what's happening is they look at you, and then they start to internalize you, and they start responding to their internalized view of who you are. And they're projecting attributes onto you that you don't have. But I found a good way of approaching that was from a sort of a detached compassion. Because if human consciousness has this machine-like quality, it works like a computer. That's why they created computers, to reflect their own minds, to work as slaves for them. Is if the computer takes stimuli and then processes what the stimuli mean and then forms incorrect conclusions, of course, but you can still appreciate the stimuli they're getting from the stimuli you offer them. So I would get upset about that. I would be like, why am I getting this response from people? Why do they assume I'm mean or threatening or whatever? And they'd be like, well, how do they see you? You know, when I used to walk around with a shaved head at 100 kilos, my flesh vehicle was way too big. And I was like, well, yeah, you kind of give the stimuli for a threatening dude. They don't know you're sitting around reading poetry and talking about Zen Buddhism.
But it's like, is it my responsibility as a fragmented consciousness outside of human reality to deal with humans' subjective understanding and projections? Am I the one that's has to be like, oh, I gotta live up to your illusion, your collective illusion that y'all are thinking on your own?
Yeah.
You know, and do I have to be the one to determine what they're gonna think?
No, you don't. And that's one of the really tough things down there. And it's we should come up with a term for this. It's like flesh vehicle sickness or flesh vehicle delusion. So many things come back to the fact that you're trapped inside of this flesh vehicle for a short space of time.
The flesh theater?
The flesh theater. You're stuck there. You can't escape the flesh theater. And so, no, it's not your responsibility. And this is where we have to draw boundaries where there are none. There are no boundaries. You could respond to it in a multitude of ways, probably like an infinite number of nuanced different ways you could respond to it. But one of them is to draw that boundary and say, okay, that's your perception. This is who I actually am. I appreciate that in this discretionary gap between your human perception and who I actually am, some shit may fly in there. There may be good stuff. People might attribute like good traits to you that you don't have as well. Saintly sort of spiritually aware trait that you don't have either. Bad and good. But it's all projection because they don't have that data. The problem is when they believe in their projection as though it is data.
But that's how they understand the world.
Unfortunately, it's necessary. So projection of data that you don't have, hallucination, and prejudice, which means prejudgment, is necessary to function. There are so many temptations for humanity to fall into because of this flesh vehicle sickness, this flesh theatre. So they have to prejudge you. How else do we function in the world? You can't even drive one of their shitty vehicles without prejudgment. You make an assessment of what the traffic most likely will do based on your past experiences, and you make that assessment unconsciously through rapidly occurring visual stimuli whilst you listen to your music and vape out the window and chat to your girlfriend or whatever you're doing.
You learned a lot in that flesh suit down there, didn't you?
I had a lot of time to think. I did not do well down there.
You didn't do well?
No, I did not. I had a bad time.
Does anybody really do well? I mean, imagine you have the entire species. Oh, they have this thing, if I say entire, they'd be like, but not everyone. So I kind of have to be like, okay, some of the species, but not all of them. The ones that are outside of it are part of it, but not really, but just in the middle of it, but not really all of them, but somewhat all of them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I get really furious too.
You end up having to constantly pre-qualify every statement by saying,
yes,
but not everyone. This is because when you make a statement about the entire species, they're actually experiencing it yet again through projection. This is about me. This is about me. And you go, no, I'm speaking about the species. Don't be so sensitive.
Okay, well, let's just talk about them. Him, her. Okay?
Zer.
So that human, for example, if they're living through an entire collective delusion, hallucination, and just viewing everything and each other through hallucinatory interpretations, which doesn't necessarily have a concrete weight, how well could that actually end up to everyone? If everyone just has their own really specific opinion about the same thing, then they all gonna kill each other.
Based on the frame that you just offered, which I think is an accurate frame, it's amazing that they don't do worse. They're actually doing really well.
That is strange, huh?
Yeah, so that's a good sign. That should go in the report as something that's in favor of humanity. Based on what you just said, which is everybody's locked into their own delusional, hallucinatory framework, and there can be a level of emotional attachment and insistence on it, they're doing pretty well to kill each other as little as they do. That's called being damned with faint praise. You're doing so well to kill each other as little as you do. You should genocide more, but you don't. Well done.
That is very surprising. Why exactly do you think with all of these really specific interpretations of reality, it's still able to function? I would hope to think that maybe only peace is possible if everyone kind of shared the same viewpoint of things, but actually there's so many different viewpoints that, I mean, the planet's overpopulated. They're still, pushing out flesh toddlers and stuff and without any problems. So
I think that there is signs of a degree of elevated consciousness there that can at least offer the space to somebody else with a different point of view without smashing their cranium in with a hammer. So you say, you see the world differently to me. I don't have to kill you, at least not today.
maybe perhaps that's why something like human art, human music and film was simultaneously something that was loved by humanity, but also very, very feared.
Mm-hmm.
Art, film, and music usually were the first to go when humanity shifts into the more dystopian, authoritarian worlds, you know, the ones with all the psychocysts, narcisopaths or whatever.
Narcissists?
Psychopahuda.
Psychopahuda.
When they get in power and they start slaughtering people because of the vomiting repression or whatever like that, usually before they get to the actual murder, they say, no more art, no more music, and no more film. Because maybe those types are very, very scared of the subjective realities and projections that different people have.
Yes, good point. Bringing it back to the year of the split, which is what we've been asked to report on 2020. What you're talking about with art, music, and film, it allows you to travel in other people's realities. And in 2020, one of the things that was banned was travel. Travel was banned.
Really?
Yeah.
I was just playing PlayStation 4 in my room, so I'm not exactly sure about that. Tell me more.
Well, when I was in my flesh vehicle, I traveled a lot, but they really, really cracked down on it. They really stopped it. And a little part of me, perhaps I was in the flesh vehicle for too long, started to get a bit paranoid about that. Because I was like, why travel? There seemed to be a movement towards not seeing other people's ways of life, not seeing the commonality of humanity. And when you travel and you see other countries and other people and how they operate there, you realize the similarity. You realize that the people over there aren't all lunatics waving axes, waiting for the gates to open to slaughter all your people. They're just eating sandwiches and, you know, listening to music and talking bullshit and laughing at farts, the same way that you are over in your space.
What's interesting is that I see, for example, even just a few decades ago from the year of the split of 2020, maybe perhaps 1970s, 80s and stuff, the manifestation of certain films and artwork and music would not survive in the year of the split because it would be deemed insensitive, inappropriate, problematic, toxic, all of these adjectives that have a negative thing associated with a finger wave and a head bob sort of a thing. So the thing is, well, I don't know, let's talk about some gangster movies. They love this one with The Godfather or something, or maybe Scarface, you know, they putting the powder up the nose and my little friend be shooting people or whatever. Hey, hello, sort of a thing. And then, so that type of film.
That's not the sound guns make.
That's not the gun? Hello. But knowing the year of the split, to make it less problematic, the sound of a gun would rather be, hello, smiles, everything's fine, hi, instead of, brah, you know, death.
Yeah.
So it seems like in the year of the split, 2020, whether we go to heaven or hell, whatever you want to call it, there seems to be an over-imposing fuck your subjective reality because it's dangerous. So the subjective reality of a person, obviously, if a person like Scarface was a real character, he'd be a very terrible human being for sure. But it's an artwork. It's fictional. It's not real. So now, with something like that released in the time period that we live in now, we say, no subjective reality here. No. Not your subjective reality. No. I want my subjective reality. This is problematic. It's insensitive. Let's ban it off the face of the earth. And that's the way that I'm currently seeing everything playing out there at the moment. I don't know, man. Could be just me. I don't know about you.
I saw a move towards an orthodoxy and purity tests. It was quite frightening because you would sort of feel like, oh, they've done it so many times. They're not going to fall for that horse shit again. And then they did. They fell for it again. A move towards totalitarianistic orthodoxies that would try to control people's experience and their expression. It's extremely controlled in 2020.
What happened during the Crusades or when like the Pilgrims landed in the Divided States of America? Weren't they like, oh, we have the true moral meaning, and because you don't, you need to be wiped off, so convert what we're thinking now?
That's an orthodoxy, for sure. And it got, in those times, it got very, very specific. So you'd have people worshipping the same God and the same prophets, but because they worship them with the wrong words, or they used the wrong language, or they didn't wear the right shaped hat, you could be tortured to death for that. That's the danger of an orthodoxy. I'm right, you're wrong, do it my way, or else. 2020 ain't any different to that.
Yeah, because maybe humans could say we're just reaching, it's not that serious. And maybe a few months ago it wasn't that serious. But now they're actually like taking guns and putting fists to the face if I were to say instead of ooh.
You could get it if you don't say ooh. All revolutions and violent revolutions and genocides start with small elements, and they usually are humorous and stupid. Some of their big genocidal dictators are kind of humorous characters if you view them through a certain lens. There's something slightly pathetic and ridiculous about all of them. But once you get that projected power put in that place, that's how it starts. It starts with jokes. It starts with small things. It starts with don't say that word, don't wear that color t-shirt, don't use those sunglasses or whatever it is. And then it escalates from there. And this has been shown time and again. It starts typically with word policing. Don't say that word. It's forbidden. And then it grows and grows and grows.
Around this time, I actually, as the human avatar, Pierre XO, pop culture drama extraordinaire, here to give you a little gray area and a little bit of philosophy on these idiots, took a break because it was fun. It was fun for a bit, just to, put my little giant ass clown feet in and just doing a little jester dance. They're getting rid of the jesters now. It maybe accelerated a few months where everybody only wanted to talk about which alpha primate that they wanted to run the entire landmass, and it became no longer fun. You had tribes from either geographical landmass, mental landmass, just throwing spears at each other within the YouTube comment section here. That I was just like, hey, fuck this! I ain't gonna be a part of this. And I remember when we were undercover, eating, I think, raw fish, call it sushi or something. We were briefly speaking about, luckily no one knew that we were on a mission there. They're just like, oh, humans. That's what they do, right? Yeah, humans. Good.
This is good.
Yeah, you're one of us.
This is not good, but this is good. You've got to know your digits.
So if I were to walk around and did this instead of this?
They don't like it. But this digit, okay. This one, not okay, meaningless. I tried this one, it never caught on.
But I always use this for... anyways, so so we were eating this raw fish, and we were talking, hey, the only thing that's trending right now on this YouTube landscape is which alpha monkey, which tribe are you? Can't do this, can't do this. What if we talked about that? And I remember thinking, it's dangerous. Like, I actually think it's physically dangerous now. And then you briefly chimed in and said, yeah, if we were to do a seminar, you could actually get hurt by some person wearing nipple rings and clamps thinking that they are the, you know, whoever the hell with this ideology. And I was like, yeah, maybe it's time to go back to the flip ship.
Yeah, it becomes a time, late 2020, where if you say the wrong thing in a public space, you should legitimately fear physical violence and perhaps even death. And that's not an overstatement at that time. The more people push, the more humans push towards an orthodoxy and control, the more polarized the landscape becomes. So I'm a human, and I say, I really don't think people should say the word green. But I really don't. But I'm like, look, I prefer if you didn't say green. That's different to, if you say green, I'm going to slap you in the face. If you keep moving along that spectrum, if you say green, I'm going to kill you. If you say green, I'm going to kill everybody you know and burn the village you come. The spectrum goes wider and wider. That's like pressing down on the pedal for orthodoxy. When that happens, everybody tribalizes and becomes more polarized, and things get more and more extreme because we lose the center. We lose the center ground where we all just chill out and just meet and go, oh, you like green? Well, I fucking prefer blue, but, you know, that's fine. We don't have to get violent about it. It's not like that. So pushing on the pedal for orthodoxy is always dangerous. It's always dangerous, and historically has always led to huge violence, huge amounts of violence.
So what do we do about it?
Just tell people to chill the fuck out. You fucking silly horseshit, you two-eyed freak.
Maybe they got to, you know, maybe
What do
like...
they think they can see with two eyes? What can you see with two fucking eyes? So on the front of your head, you dummies.
Hey, careful. The people with the dreadlocks and the tunics, they say, the third one.
Ah, okay,
you know,
okay.
some of them have three, man.
Yeah, with your three eyes.
Yeah, they have like the extra crystals to open that one, you know?
Yeah, and that short, narrow bandwidth of light they can see, and they think they know what's going on.
Yeah.
Arrogance.
Honestly, I would just say just take something from Mr. Hookah, put that shit in your mouth.
Put it in your mouth, baby.
Inhale it,
Inhale
taste every flavor, and call it a day, man.
Yeah, let it disintegrate. All that ideological nonsense will just pass through you.
We don't have anything for Corona.
Not a damn thing.
Just fuck it.
Fuck it.